And we're live with Angular Air. Hello, my name is Kent C. Dodds, and I am joined by our awesome panel. We're going to be talking about Angular Connect, do a recap of that awesome conference. And so before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and introduce everybody so everybody can say hi. So with us today we have Olivier Combe.
Hey.
And Amy Knight. Who's having trouble getting
Hello.
in?
Sorry, Slack just went off. I was trying to use.
You're good. And Carmen Popovici.
Hey.
And Patrick J.S.
Hey guys.
Complete with his attempt at a British accent. And Jeff Welfley.
Oi, mate. Oh, no, that's Australian again. Sorry.
Oh, man. All right. Cool. So before we get started, just a couple of quick announcements. So today we're going to be talking about Angular Connect and our experience at the conference, or everybody else's experience at the conference, and my experience watching some of the videos. So if you actually have some things that you want to highlight or anything as you're watching live, you can jump on the hashtag NGAirQuestion, and hey, maybe I'll watch the NGAir statement hashtag too. So if you want to make a statement rather than a question, I'll watch that too. But yeah, if you do have a question about the conference, go ahead and hit us up at hashtag NGAirQuestion on Twitter. And then, as always, follow us on Twitter and Google+ to keep up with the latest and greatest. And next week's show is going to be with Matthias Nimla. Dang it. I'm so bad. He's Year of Mu, if you know him from other places. But he's the brains behind Angular Animate, and he's going to talk with us about NG Animate 2.0 next week. Same time, same place. So I think actually time zones are changing because here we're doing crazy stuff with this daylight savings thing, which I think is totally bonkers. But yeah, so if where you are doesn't like honor daylight savings or whatever, I envy you, and the show will be an hour later, I think. But it's always going to be at 11 o'clock in San Francisco. So if you just jump on that, that's when it'll always be. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and get started. I wasn't actually at the conference, so I'm going to probably not talk a lot, and I'll just leave this up to the panelists to jump on this. So let's talk about the conference, everybody. Go ahead.
Silence.
I think you need to ask a question.
Well, you can ask questions. You're panelists. What went well at the conference? What was awesome?
Well, if I could speak that one, I think the keynote was amazing. See, the keynote highlights a lot of really nice features in Angular 2 that we should probably go over. Like server rendering is one of the best ones. Jeff could talk more about that, as well as pre-compiling the application and the performance boost compared to Angular 1.
Well, just in general, I think a lot of the talks went well. The feeling that I got coming away from it was that Angular 2 is very close to being ready to build real stuff off of. And I think Brad, like Patrick's mentioning, did a good job of highlighting not only all the stuff that is currently great in Angular 2, but some things that are close and on the way. So overall, I thought the talks themselves were kind of the highlight of the conference.
Yeah, I really like so many things to. I couldn't choose between each track. I wanted to see everything, and then I wanted to talk to people. Yeah, there were too many things to do at the same time, so it was nice. It's cool that we can watch the videos after.
Yeah. So I should just announce Scott Moss just joined us. We're happy to have you back, Scott. So, and he's also muted, but he's waving. For the conference, I was kind of curious. Would you all say that at the conference, whether it was like part of the talks or in conversations with other people, that people were talking more about Angular 1 or Angular 2? Where was kind of the focus at the conference?
I feel like Angular too.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it was definitely Angular too.
Was there any conversation about like migrating from their Angular 1 apps? Like, did people express any concerns about the migration path or strategy or anything like that?
Yeah, I did hear some chatter in the hallways, and some people were really afraid of the work to do between Angular 1 and Angular 2 when they will migrate the application. Some of them were thinking that maybe the Angular 1 application should stay in Angular 1 and they should just wait for the next part to write it in Angular 2 and maybe not migrate, I don't know.
That's an interesting thought. Maybe it's not a bad idea.
Well, they did have. I didn't actually get a chance to watch the talk yet, but they talked about NG upgrade. I think that was something started by Pascal, if I remember correctly, and just the sort of process, sort of a combination of a lot of stuff that people have talked about in blog posts and the core team has talked about of the way in which you would migrate your app if you wanted to from NG1 to NG2. And so I think Pascal and others have started to formalize that in terms of a number of steps and guidelines, which seem to make sense from everything I've seen.
Yep. Yeah, if you haven't seen NG Upgrade, it's a library that allows you to write Angular 2 code for Angular 1. Oh no, this is NG Forward. NG Upgrade is the application that allows you to write both Angular 1 and Angular 2 application in the same website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I know as well. Like you can go both ways.
Yeah, both projects seem really interesting, but are not finalized yet. So.
Yeah, like there was just a big push on Angular 2 in general because a lot of people were expecting to announce the beta, and then when they didn't, like they knew they were not going to announce the beta, so they were like, how do we make sure that like we still make everybody happy when we're not announcing the beta? So there was just a lot of content on Angular 2. So like, yeah, most of the focus was definitely on that.
One thing that I personally I hate to admit this, but it's been such a long time. Angular 2 has been going like in development for a really, really long time, and I'm starting to lose a little bit of steam on being excited for this awesome new framework, which is legitimately amazing. Was there any like feeling like that at the conference? And kind of as part of that, did the Angular team kind of hint at any sort of like time frame when the beta might be released, or how things are coming along on the development?
No, I didn't see any time frame. I look at all the talks, but I don't think they released like oh here's when it's going to come out. But I think what they did was they did a really good job on like for instance like different components of Angular 2 that are just being like developed and being released, and they keep having like all these integrations, like for instance with native script, and then like the routers looking good and like all this stuff. So they keep finding these little nuggets that they keep building upon to get you excited about Angular 2 while you're waiting for the actual framework to be done. So I think that's pretty good. So like they have those integrations like, oh, check out Angular 2 with Firebase, check out Angular 2 with this, and that was what's keeping people excited versus like, okay, what the hell are we waiting on? Is this another change detection talk? Like we get it. Like let's just use the framework. So they kind of did that, and I think that's just like keep helping it.
Yeah, I gotta keep the fire burning.
I'm also kind of curious how like all the others, like all of you, felt about it, because I actually had the opposite of you, Kent. Because like I've been laying low until now because it felt that it's not ready, so I was like, okay, I just need to wait a bit more. And like now, when I saw the talks and I saw the keynote, to me, I got excited because for me it felt that okay, it's like it's getting there. And my impression of it was that it's like that the APIs are stable. There's a lot of documentation missing, but that was my feeling that that's the biggest chunk that is missing, and then for the rest they're kind of already there. But I'm curious if I'm the only one who had this feeling.
Well, I think that's the thing that I don't know like for sure, but my interpretation of the events, like seeing what happened both to the repo and hearing from other people, is that they wanted, obviously, to launch the beta for this conference, I would imagine. But if you looked at even the week before the conference, there was like 4 different releases like in that week, because they were like encountered one problem, they were trying to like fix it really quickly, and then that ran into another issue, and they were kind of scrambling. And I'm pretty sure they made the call right at the end there that like you can't launch the beta right after you made like a whole set of changes, like change detection, the API changed pretty significantly, and a couple other things. So all the documentation, like you're saying, Carmen, wasn't there yet. But I think it is close. If I had to guess, like I think we have that in one of our questions, I think it's within like a matter of weeks, but we'll see.
I also, sorry, Olivier, I also saw somebody tweeted today that like the milestones were added to the repo. So there were 2 beta milestones added, like the 00 and 01. And the first one was 20-something% done already, something like that.
Having those milestones is really nice for transparency of development. So that's good news. It's good.
I kind of got the feeling by talking to people that like they're really, really invested in making sure people are successful with it. So I can appreciate like not rushing it, and I know that at some point you have to get it out, but I'd rather have it like really solid and take a little while longer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's free software. We can't complain.
Yeah, it's free.
But I mean, like I said, just like in talking to people there, they just really, really, really seem to genuinely care that people are successful with it.
Well, that's one of our favorite things about the Angular team in general too, is how genuine they are and community centric, and so of course that trickles down to the rest of the community, and that's a whole nother podcast about how awesome this community is. So kind of. Maybe we can, unless somebody else has some comments, maybe we can talk more about the actual conference. So what we talk, like maybe we could consider this as like a conference retrospective, as if we were like organizers of this conference. But like, what went well, what didn't go well, what could they improve on next year, and maybe they'll watch this and learn from our experience.
I like the multi-track thing. Normally I'm like kind of against that, because I'm like, well, I want to kind of see all the talks, but I really liked it because one, it allowed more talks to get in. You can pick and choose, and you can also just live stream other talks while you're sitting at one talk and like 2 times a talk. So like it kind of worked out good. I really like that. I think they did it very, very well. A lot of conferences do that and don't do it very well. So they did a good job of doing that and like setting up talks. Like there was one room that was bigger than the other room, so they were anticipating some talks having a bigger audience, and they would try to put them in the track where the room was bigger. So they did a good job of doing that, and like I think that kind of like made it for me.
They sort of did a good job.
Yeah. Your talk was
as good as they could. As good as they could. I mean, it's not gonna be perfect. I mean, like I know like that web workers talk was in the smaller room and it was packed. Like it was coming out of the doors, and I was like, well, they should have put. And then I looked it up, but I forgot whose talk was going on track 1 during that time. But it was like nobody in there, and I was like, oh, okay, they kind of messed that one up. But they did what they could.
Yeah, I have the feeling that track 1 was Angular 1 and track 2 Angular 2 for most of the talks. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was like that. Yeah.
Wi-Fi went well.
That's just been their anticipation that Angular 2 would be more popular, and so, or maybe they just said all the Angular 2 talks happened to be more popular in their eyes, and so that just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi was good. We were able to do Angular. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's impressive. Like conference Wi-Fi where you can stream video. Wow. Good for them.
Well, and not only that, but like all the conference attendees were watching the other track while in another track, so you were streaming at the same time as watching the other talk. Like what Scott was saying.
I think one hold on. I think one criticism is for YouTube, they actually created 2 channels for track 1 and 2, and then later they released all the videos on track 1 channel and renamed it. So I think one criticism is that if they just created 1 channel, then all the views would be merged into that one. I think that would be like one improvement that they could do there. It's a little bit confusing searching on YouTube for Angular Connect and finding Angular Connect track 1 and Angular Connect track 2. So.
Yeah, you're like picking.
One improvement I guess that they could have done is sort of with the venue. The venue didn't teach Patrick how to speak in a British accent well enough.
Not at all. But yeah, probably.
Speaking of venue, that place was humongous. Like, walking from your hotel to the thing. Like the first day, Patrick and I were like walking for like 10 minutes, and we weren't even halfway through the thing. I cannot believe how big that place was.
Yeah.
So whenever I say what didn't go well, like I always like to do what you would do to improve it. So for this, I think that maybe if they gave all the attendees like little scooters or something like that, or like what's a British thing that's like what people use? Like they don't use scooters out there. What do they do? Something like that.
You know the walkers that people use in America? They kind of stand in it and then they kind of just like lean forward, like a Segway, but like a smaller one. I think if they gave everyone that one, those little walkers, then I think everything would be nice.
A double-decker bus to get from the hotel to the front door.
Yeah.
You get a proper ride.
And there were like a ton of other like expos going on too during the conference, and like I was trying to sneak into one, and it didn't work out. So
it sounds like from what you're all saying, it sounds like they really, really nailed it for this conference. Did a really, really good job. Is that the consensus?
Yeah. I was impressed.
Yeah, and they also like there was. So the second day, they had this chill-out room, and I went there in between the talks, and it was so cool. Like it was so silent, and everybody was just working on their stuff, and it was so peaceful to just watch everybody. It was so cool. It was very nice.
Yeah,
actually,
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they had the speaker room, which I thought was legit. Like,
yeah.
That was money right there. Like, just the speaker room, you go in there, and they had like somebody like standing guard. Only speakers can come in there, and like they had like separate dinners and lunches and breakfasts for the speakers, and like it was real nice to be able to go in and just talk about the talks and whatnot away from the attendees. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I tried to follow Jeff and Patrick and Carmen, and the woman at the door told me, "No, you're not a speaker." So, yeah,
no, but you came in like at the second
the second
you were in
day.
there. We ate together.
Yeah, the second day, but it was after Angular Air, and maybe she knew that I was doing some stuff with the stuff.
Yeah. Coming from somebody who likes to eat pretty good, I can appreciate that they had like healthy options.
Cool. So if you had to name the top, like let's say that some of our viewers are watching or listening, trying to find out what they can do to get their conference right. Like they're planning a conference. What are the top 5 things, or top 3 things that Angular Connect nailed and got right that every conference should do?
Wi-Fi.
Good speakers.
Offline with Wi-Fi. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, good speakers and good talks, I think.
Yeah, they also had like a overload of information, which I think was great. Like there were printouts of all the schedules, like multiple times, multiple formats, emails of the schedules, like what track. Like it was just like you couldn't go anywhere and not know what time something was, which was great. So I really liked that.
I like the party.
Yes. Yeah, the band at the party was great. They picked out, and Carmen was definitely the highlight of that.
But it was great. The music was great, and there were so many people dancing, like people that I didn't even think they are dancing, and they were dancing so well. So it was cool.
Music changes people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Carmen changes people as well. I think that we wouldn't have danced like that without Carmen in the middle.
Yeah, because I was making a fool of myself. That's true.
Yeah. So we were thinking, oh, it's all right. If she's making a fool, yeah, we can.
You can't look worse than that.
And my favorite was Shai Resnick, who was like trying to copy Carmen, and he like did the like same exact dance she was doing. That was like really good.
And Uri was amazing. Yuri, Yuri, I'm sorry, I forgot your last name. But he was great. He was also really, really great.
Yeah, Yuri Shecht.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really good with his long flowing hair.
Oh, MG Jesus.
No, not.
We're talking about that one.
For people who didn't like dancing, there was a projection of Back to the Future one in the other room, so it was nice as well. And there was a magician.
Oh, yeah.
But actually, Ken, one other thing too was just it was well organized. They had not only Pete, but the other organizers and the what is it, White October events or whatever they were called, that other organization who was working with them, who just at all times they had their headsets on, were constantly running around trying to like make sure everything went right, and you could just definitely tell that like they were on top of everything. I think that's like really important for conference organizers.
Cool. Awesome. Can you talk about the venue a little bit? You already mentioned that the venue itself was huge, but what about London? Did any of you get a chance to explore London at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. that was a baited question. I've been jealous of your pictures on Twitter all week.
We had so much fun.
Yeah, me, Lucas, and Patrick went out Midtown. I guess it's in Midtown London. I don't know what you would call it, but like down there somewhere to go like shopping for clothes, and we ate like
Piccadilly.
Huge steakhouse. Oh, dude, are those mine? Are those yours?
Oh yeah, dude, your shades got lost in my luggage, so I left them in my luggage, which got lost by British Airlines. So. Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, that's alright. But yeah, we explored London, did some shopping. We went to this steakhouse and I like ordered the smallest steak they had, and they brought out the biggest steak I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, because you're American, so I guess it's American size.
It was huge. I took one bite. I was like, I can't eat this. I'm sorry.
Easter dinner was like really, really fun, where they rented the double-decker bus and the venue for the dinner was really nice.
Yep, that was really nice.
Food was good. I thought.
Did any of you guys
get used to the roads out there? Because I was going to rent a car, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because like we were catching these Ubers, and I was like freaking out in the car. I'm like, man, you're gonna. Oh wait, never mind. That's how you do it over here. Okay.
I could not imagine driving around there. That is crazy.
That's the only bad part about London and traffic. Don't try to go anywhere in a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even crossing the street was bad, right? Like, as you cross the street and you look this way, and you're like, oh wait, it's actually this way. Too late.
Did any of you guys go on the gondola?
On the what?
There was a gondola that left right outside of our hotel that like went over the water and to the other side. So Gleb did it, and he said it was awesome. He said that it was a great view of the city, and then on the other side, you get on this boat that goes down the Thames River to Big Ben and Parliament and that type of thing. So I think maybe for next year, anybody that goes, that would be something highly recommended.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, there was just one thing that went so well. It's the end conference, I think. It was kind of a last-minute thing. I wish they had advertised about it earlier. It was supposed to be a room where people could give talk freely, but yeah, I guess nobody knew about it and no one was coming, so they stopped it through the second day. Yeah.
I think you're talking about the AMAs where all the people go in the room.
Yeah, the AMAs was nice because I don't like when people ask questions at the end of a talk. You take 10 minutes for questions that nobody cares about. Maybe isn't about the talk. So yeah, AMAs was nice. to have.
Although ours was kind of weird, I don't quite know what happened, but for Patrick and a couple of other guys that were there for our time slot, like a couple people filtered in. I think there was something else going on at that time, and we ended up talking to them individually, but we didn't really answer questions as much. So like I don't know whether it seems like there might be some. I like the idea, but maybe there might be some improvement that they could do there.
I think you just have a way of distilling information in such a way that nobody has a single question. You're just that good.
Maybe, I don't know.
So, but the AMA and the unconference were two different things, right? The unconference was like actual talks, people would just come, and you're saying that that could have been a little bit improved, Olivier?
Yeah, I wanted to do, well, Pascal wanted me to do one on NG2 Translate. They stopped the unconference before I could give one. Pascal wanted to do one as well, and he had the same problem, but yeah. I wish I knew earlier that there was this possibility, and I would have given something on the first day, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't as advertised as much. I didn't realize there was an unconference, so I accidentally stumbled upon it, and I was like, oh, it's this thing. So like they kind of just like, yeah, we got the unconference, but they didn't really feed that into all the sources of information that they did everything else. So it kind of just fell off.
Cool. Maybe they'll watch this and they'll learn from that, and maybe even the NGConf guys will be watching this and they can do something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think it's a good idea. So cool. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the talks. So I realize that some of you may be saving some of the talks for your picks, but let's save the picks for other things, and let's talk about the talks. I'll go ahead and start off. I actually haven't had a chance to watch a lot of the talks yet, but one of the ones that I watched was Joe Eames gave his talk on empathy. It was like becoming a betazoid, and as a Trekkie, I loved that that reference. But I thought it was a very, very good talk, very practical, different from lots of the other soft skills talks that you hear where it's all just like fluffy and feathers and not practical. So I thought he gave some really solid advice and recommend that people check that out, even if you're not into Angular. And if you're not into Angular, I have no idea why you're watching this podcast. But you should recommend it to people who aren't into Angular because it was generally applicable. What other talks did you find enjoyable?
The web workers.
Yes.
I guess it was so impressive that this young intern could do that. Well, young, I don't know how young he is, but it was really impressive and really, yeah, I don't know. He wasn't stressed. It was clear. The subject was technical, but I guess it was clear enough for us to understand, and the possibilities of web workers in Angular 2 are really interesting for me as well, at least.
That was going to be my pick too. Like, I have tried to fool around with them a little bit for something I had to do at work, and it definitely, like he said, was not the easiest thing to work with. So I can appreciate, I think he's a junior in college right now, and he was not only like knew exactly what he was talking about, but he delivered it really, really well too. So, and he's nice. So icing on the cake.
I like the native script talk. Not so much the actual talk. I thought the talk was actually kind of hard to watch, but the content on the talk was really, really great because like I think native script is legit, and the fact that they had something working with Angular 2, like I was just like, man, like I was just like so excited about that talk. I watched it like 3 times, and then like I went along and like built some apps with it to see if it worked. I was like, okay, this totally works. This is legit. So I really, really like that talk.
I like the talk by Ben Lesh on EricJS. It's a good introduction for anyone who still doesn't know what this thing is. Yeah, I like this one.
My favorite 2 talks actually were Rob Wormald, and actually there was like 4 people talking in the same session. But there's just like a ton of information that they stuffed in there, like between the 4 people speaking, and actually, some stuff actually I didn't even realize I hadn't been keeping up with for the second set of speakers, so I forget their names, who talked about how you can plug into the compile pipeline in Angular 2, which is like really cool stuff that brings up some interesting possibilities for adding like additional sugar later on. And then the other one is actually Amy's talk. I really liked. I tweeted about like I think for beginners, like it's so, because my wife is has thought about switching careers and trying to get into development as well. So like I totally get the difficulties in kind of doing that, and how hard it is to get started. And I kind of work with a lot of like college kids now, like at my alma mater, BC here, and one of the biggest things they ask about is, okay, how can I get started? How do you kind of get that initial jump on your career, which can be hard. No matter how many developers are in demand, getting started is still hard. And so Amy provided a lot of great tips and kind of insight, I think, which was great.
I've seen way too many of my friends to go in situations where like they're just not set up in a good environment for learning, and I feel bad for them.
So if I could pick one, I would pick the NG Animate talk. It's actually really nice to see all the updates to animations. I think it was great that you're able to control your animations to a slider for NG Animate 2.0, and you're able to see exactly like what frame by frame, which one you're able to like see exactly the animation. It's really nice. So like when that's released, it's going to be, I think, game changer in terms of web developing the animations in general.
Yeah, it's like controlling music, but animation. That was pretty cool. One talk, though, I think that we do need to talk about is Lucas's and Shai's talk, because I didn't watch it live, but I watched it later on, and like I was in my hotel room like 4 o'clock in the morning, just laughing so loud. Like,
well, actually, this brings up one thing that going back to like what didn't go so well, and I'm not sure quite how to fix this, but like the crowd was kind of like a little bit it was hard to gauge. Like it was one thing I talked with Lucas and Shai a lot about afterwards. Like during the original keynote, the first talk of the conference, and theirs, there was some great stuff that like people didn't really give like a reaction for, and I don't know whether that's because of like the difference in cultures or what. But I think that made it hard for Lucas and Shai to work off of, frankly.
Yeah, I totally think it was the culture stuff. I mean, there were references that people from other cultures just won't get, and like the Brits, their humor is more tongue in cheek, whereas our humor is more like in your face. Kevin Hart, let me throw some memes at you. Like that's not how they get down. So like they didn't really understand that, and like I saw that. So like for me, like I didn't write my slides until the night before, because I kind of anticipated that like if I wrote something and stuck to it, that it wouldn't stick. So I wanted to fill the crowd out. So like I wrote my slides as like things to hit, but everything that I said on stage was just off the top of my head, because I wanted to be like original and like get into the crowd and like try to make them laugh and entertain them. Because it's not like back at home where I'm like, oh, I know what they're gonna laugh at. They're gonna laugh at the same stuff I'm gonna laugh at. So it wasn't like that. But yeah, it was a tough crowd. But Shai's and Lucas' talk was still like I just couldn't stop laughing. Like I was just like, I had Lucas was like, dude, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen at any conference. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the expectations were high, so maybe that's why some people got disappointed. But it was funny. Maybe not as funny as the one from NGConf. I don't know, but still, it's really hard to make something fun for so many people. But I think Shai and Lucas were a bit disappointed by the reactions of the people. So
Scott, I appreciated your talk too. I think like not a lot of people in this industry necessarily have the guts to admit it when they're like wrong and make mistakes, but we all do. So I appreciated like your humility to get up in front of a lot of people and do that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was at first I was like actually looking at code from like other people's code, and then I was just like, you know what? I started noticing. I was like, yeah, I used to do that. And I realized I was like, wait, I did do that. I'll just talk about my code then. This will be better. So
but I mean, like Yeah, that really is how you learn. Like you learn from like making the worst mistakes. So it's cool that you have the humility to do that.
I also liked Yuri's talk about generators and protractor. I think it was a very good one. He explained the concepts very well. I really liked it. And he also had a very sweet way of being funny. So that was sweet. But I think content-wise it was very good. I think he answered some questions that people usually have when it comes to testing with protractor. But I also like the fact that he really took the time in his talk to explain generators. Like, really nice. I liked it. So yeah, it was nice. It was a very good one. I recommend that one.
Yeah, nobody is talking about this talk that was really awful by Patrick something and Jeff. I don't know. It was so embarrassing. I don't know what you guys think about it, but
I haven't watched the talk yet, but I'm guessing it was entertaining because those two guys are one are pretty knowledgeable and two they work very well together. So I'm hoping it was a good talk. So maybe I'll report back after I watch it today.
Well, the best part of the talk by far was that Patrick was able to make our server running solution so fast it went back in time. So it was recording like negative 50 milliseconds runtime, which was pretty amazing.
Wow, Back to the Future theme. Is that why you did that?
Yeah, I was trying to get to the theme of Back to the Future while showing that it's so fast. It went in the past, but like no one really got. I had to refresh it so many times to get it correctly. But yeah.
I was joking. Yeah, it was a good talk.
Yeah, it was a good talk. Sorry, Finch.
There was one thing missing. Olivier should have done a talk. He needs to do a talk for NGConf.
Yeah, I
agree. I'm not as good as you guys for talks. I think the organization of NGA went well, so I'm happy for that.
You did a splendid job. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so I think unless there's anything else that you all want to talk about, we can jump into the picks and tips and wrap things up. Is there anything else that we should mention about the conference?
Yeah, Ionic 2 is being released.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be really interesting to see that when it's out. About.
All right, so Jeff is wanting us to gamble on the show.
No, it's not gamble. It's you make your best guess based off of like progress and where we're at of when we think that the Angular will go into full release. So like I think all of us probably feel that the beta is coming imminently in the next couple of weeks. But so basically I wanted to get us to put bets on. So Price is Right style is, you can't go over. If you go over, you're done. So it has to be before, but it's the closest otherwise. So Patrick already says.
Hold on. So I bet 80 pounds for the end of the year beta release. Beta 00. Oh, hold on. Let me think about that for a moment. Okay, how about end of the year, 80 pounds.
So that just the beta release. When's the official release?
Oh, yeah. So I guess I'll bet 800 pounds for NG.
That's a lot of pounds. NGConf? No, I wouldn't say NGConf.
Yeah, I think it's late. Well, I don't know. I haven't kept up as closely as you have.
I think the official release is going to be out before NGConf.
I agree.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
By release, you mean release candidate?
Release candidate, yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be beta release within the next week or something, and then the full release by the end of the year.
I would say beta in 1 month and a half, something. Yeah, for the release, I don't know. ngConf is in May, right? So yeah, maybe in May would be a good time. Yeah, I think they will just release it when it's ready. They won't rush just for a date or something.
I agree. I don't think that they'll rush just to release on a date, as appealing as that would be. But my guess is beta's coming out in 2 weeks, and the first release candidate will come out in April.
Fool's Day.
Yeah, actually that would work out really nicely. April 1st. There's a release candidate there.
So they have 51 issues open for the beta release, which is 23% complete.
So here's what on top of all this speculation that we're throwing out there, please nobody tweet that this is doctrine. But on top of all of this, I think that we should mention that the Angular team is well equipped to take contributions. I see time and time again that people are contributing to Angular 2 who are just members of the community. And so all of us can work together, and I know Patrick is all over this, but we can all work together to make these dates move up. So we can make Patrick wrong. You can make me wrong by working on the framework and making it happen sooner. So if you know how to code, then they want you to help. So just throwing that out there.
You can just help for the documentation as well. There's a lot of work to do, and you don't have to code. You just have to add comments to the code, so it's easier to do. But you have to understand the concept. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I think it's easy, but you have to understand everything before you add any comments.
I should mention also, I just looked, and the Angular repo has 164 contributors. That's not small for something that's been released or that hasn't yet been released. So yeah, definitely. And plus, it's in TypeScript, and that's exciting if you haven't ever used TypeScript before and get the IntelliSense. And so even just setting it up might be exciting. So that's fun.
Helped with the contributors. I think I added about 20 new contributors to that one. So
let's hear you justify that a little bit.
to start bringing people into the repo. So download the repo. Let me help you with an issue.
Dude, that's awesome. Good for you. That's way cool. And I'll just go ahead and volunteer you for anybody who's watching or listening. Ping Patrick on Twitter, and he will spend at a minimum 1 hour helping each one of you. Actually, I'm gonna just jump into a quick pick. I picked Patrick because he is so helpful for people. He taught me how to do Angular 2 before I gave a talk on Angular 2, and that was really helpful. So I picked Patrick. He's awesome. Cool. Well, with that, why don't we actually jump into our picks? And yeah, excuse me, Patrick. That's Patrick JS. So let's. I'll start going from left to right on my screen, which I think is actually different from what you see. So surprise, surprise. We'll start with Amy. Can you give us your picks and tips, please?
So my tip is to do something that scares you. Because, I don't know, I wasn't terribly nervous, but it's still a little outside my comfort zone, so I feel like it's the only way to get better is to do that kind of stuff. So if you're not pushing yourself every day, then probably not cutting it. Anyways, so my pick, since we already picked the videos, I'm going to pick something else. It's I'll have to look, I'll put it in our doc. But I think it's AngularTips.com. They had a good write-up on the differences between Angular 1 and Angular 2 that I read. It's 5-10 minute read, and I got a lot out of it. So that will be my pick. That's it.
Great, thanks. And if in the Google Doc, if you could put links next to your picks and tips, that's helpful. Okay, and Carmen, you're next.
And you're mute.
Carmen, are you there?
Okay, sorry. I was just saying that please pick somebody else, but I found it in the I found it in the email. Right. So Matt Zabriskie, am I saying it right? Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So he made this really cool thing called PocketNode.io. I really loved it. And he also has a blog post about it. And I saw it and I liked it so much. So I was thinking, oh, that's cool, because he's working with, he made it with React. And then I was thinking, oh, it would be cool to do this with Angular too, just for the sake of the exercise. So who knows?
Yeah, actually, I looked at the implementation. It's pretty simple, like the actual REPL piece of it. So yeah, you could totally do that. It'd be cool.
Yeah, because I really want to get my hands dirty now. So yeah, but it's a really cool project. I liked it, so I want to pick that.
Cool. Thanks, Carmen. Jeff, what do you have for us?
So my pick is going to be something that we talked about at the end of our talk, Patrick and I. We talked about that the most useful thing in my mind when you're trying to actually build something for real is seeing somebody else's actual real app, like with not just little code snippets, but like kind of everything working together. And so we started for the talk as we were kind of generating ideas, and kind of continued now to build out a new app that is going to be eventually published at fullstackangular2.com that demos all these suites of like dozen different tools and features from a variety of different JavaScript-based technologies and like this new next generation of JavaScript stuff that's coming out. And my tip is one thing that I kind of started to realize as I was kind of building this out, which is that I think when you're using Angular 2, you should try as an option for how you implement things, using classes for everything, but just have the dependency injector instantiate them as singletons, and don't use inheritance at all. Use composition over inheritance. Try to still do functional programming, but still use classes for all of your stuff. And really, that is allows you to get the most out of the Angular 2 kind of sugar that's involved with dependency injection. And it just makes your code like look really nice. It's still easy to test and everything. And you don't have to worry about some of the pitfalls with inheritance that you fall into. You can fall into that, like guys like Eric Elliott kind of harp on.
Cool. And actually, I'll add a pick that's related to that because I think that's a good thing. I think Scott needs to go, and so Olivier is thanking him for taking his place. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. So my pick would be NativeScript because I think it's awesome. Like I just can't get over it. I've been using it. I've built a couple apps with it, and I'm just like, this is crazy. And like it kind of blew my mind when I started building apps with it. But what really like changed it for me was when I had to go integrate a third-party native library into NativeScript. I think the library that I chose is actually Firebase. So I wanted to use Firebase in the native app. I couldn't use the JavaScript Firebase because it relies on browser-specific APIs. So I had to use the native iOS and native Android implementation, and wrapping that up so NativeScript can use it and allowing having it to where I can use it in JavaScript was just like, wow, I can't believe I'm like referencing native code through JavaScript instantly. It was just like mind-blowing to me. So like I highly recommend checking that out. It's pretty cool. And then as far as tips, I recommend people like if you want to be a developer that stays on the edge and do cool things and try to keep up with what's going on, I recommend spending like at least 2 hours a week on something brand new, something you read about, something you saw, something you started on GitHub. Just grab it and spend 2 hours on it, writing code. Like don't spend 2 hours reading blog posts or 2 hours doing that. Just 2 hours actually using it. Whether it's you want to try out RxJS, you wanted to try out Angular 2, just spend 2 hours on it. And like just getting your feet wet with that is going to like keep you well-rounded, keep you very familiar with a lot of things. I've been doing that a lot lately, and like I'm starting to see like trends and patterns and things, and it's helping me able to like go in and do things a lot faster, contribute to open source repos and whatnot. So I highly recommend doing something like that. And did I do React? Oh, Jeff, no, I did not do React Native. Never used it. But from my experience, from what I hear about React Native versus NativeScript, I think React Native might be a little more pleasant to write. But from my understanding, you still have to know some type of native development when it comes to things non-related to the view. So like some type of like you have to write your own wrappers around like the native code and stuff like that. So yeah. Oh no, Answer's on there. Sorry. Okay. All right, guys.
Peace. Thanks for coming. Cool. So Olivier, the time has come. What do you got for us?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about Angular Connect talks, but then you said no, don't pick that. And then I wanted to pick the new application that I'm writing in Angular 2 and that I just finished, but it's not finished yet because I still have some bugs. So it will be for next week or maybe the week after. And I guess I have two picks. First one is Angular 2. It's time, guys. You have to start trying at least to code something in Angular 2. There are a lot of applications that get you started real fast. So yeah, just try to code something in Angular 2. Like Scott said, take 2 hours, maybe a bit more for Angular 2, but and yeah, try it. The other one was an article from Pascal upgrading apps to Angular 2 using ng upgrade, and actually just all the articles from Sosgram are really interesting, so I give you the link if you don't know this blog. It's really awesome, and go check this out, and you will have the motivation, I hope, to start working towards Angular 2. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you. All right, Patrick JS, what do you have for us?
So my tip is don't use jQuery if you don't have to. And if you do use jQuery, find a way to refactor it out eventually. You can use it as technical data, then the next week you could try to re-implement the widget that you included to use jQuery. My picks are Angular 2 Universal Starter. I'll provide a link, but this is basically a really minimal starter for you to get use server rendering in Angular 2. And my other pick is help release Angular 2 beta. I'll provide a link with that with the milestones. Essentially, it just allows you to see how far Angular 2 is with the beta release, and you can help with that. And my very last pick is the scarf. So I couldn't show you my English scarf, but I have my American one here. When my luggage comes in, because they kind of lost it on the flight, I will be able to wear that one. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Cheers.
Thank you. All right, and I'll wrap this up. So I have one tip. It is put your run and config functions in different Angular modules to keep them out of your tests, your unit tests. Unless obviously like that setup is needed for whatever unit you're testing, in which case that they should be in the same. But the idea is when you are writing a unit test, you are going to do like a before each. You'll bootstrap the module for the unit that you're testing. And if you have everything in a single module, then you're going to wind up running all of your run and config functions, and you'll run it for every it statement that you have. Those functions will run. And so if you don't really need those to be run for your test, then it's kind of nice to have them external. However, at the same time, this isn't like a blanket statement because like some apps are kind of small, and so adding that cognitive load for having multiple modules may not be very useful. So you have to kind of make a decision there, but that's just a little tip for you. And then I have 3 picks. 2 of them are blogs that I posted just in this last week. So Open Source Stamina talks about how after you work on something for a long time and you kind of get tired of it, but what really makes you kick the bucket is when you stop using that library. So I give a couple of examples there. And then I just published today, please don't commit commented out code because reasons, and you should go check it out to find out what reasons I give. And then as part of what Jeff talked about with using classes, I I am not a really huge fan of classes for a couple of reasons, but I always felt like I was I wasn't entirely accurate in my distaste for them, and so Dan Abramoff posted a really good blog post entitled "How to Use Classes and Sleep at Night," and so it was a very, very good blog, and I recommend that you check it out. And if you have a bad taste in your mouth for classes, read his blog post, and it will sweeten classes for you a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good post. I think he's a little bit more, it gives you a little bit more leeway than even I do. I think he allows for at least one level of inheritance. I'm trying at least initially to try to do no inheritance, but yeah, it was definitely a good post. That's part of what inspired me as well.
Cool. Yeah, and I think I'll have to read it again, but I think that one level of inheritance is just so you can inherit from React.component, which you have to do to make it a React component. So, yeah, but cool. I think that is it. Does anybody else have any last-minute things before we sign off? Okay, great. We don't have any questions. We don't have any ng-error questions or ng-error statements. So I think we'll go ahead and sign off, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
And next week for what's it?
It's ng-animate 2.0 with Matthias Ninella.
Don't miss that one. It's gonna be cool.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, very, very cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. See ya.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cheers.